So can a single mom or dad homeschool?
I've seen it done. It's challenging, but we had some people in our homeschool group that did that.
And it depends how much they have to work, and this would come down to two families working as well, or to the husband and wife working as well, is that you get in the situation where it makes it harder, and so you have to deal with challenges with that. The North Carolina homeschooling law allows a homeschool to have members of two different households in it. So one way to do it is, even if you have to work, you split a job and you split the homeschooling. That's not ideal, but you have to deal with the world that you find. And so I think it can be done. It increases the challenge and the difficulty. But again, part of it is the lack of success in public education and the slowness in which they proceed because they're going at the lowest common denominator. The reality is the education you get probably would not be as good as if you had two parents that were dedicated to homeschooling, but it would still probably be better than a public school.
And you could enlist the help of grandparents as well sometimes.
Yes.
Related to that, do you have any suggestions if both parents are working and you're trying to homeschool?
Right. Part of it is the age of the children has a lot to do with that. Obviously, if you have people this age, it's very difficult. But as your children get older, the more, if you can separate the two schedules of the two working parents so that half the time it's the father doing it, half the time it's the mother doing it. And once you get to a certain age, as long as their behaviors, as long as you've got them in control in their behavior, then you can give them assignments, and it doesn't take that much to actually, it's not that much work to homeschool a high schooler, because all you're really doing is making sure they did what they were supposed to do, because by that point they should be able to read a book and understand it. And so it's not like you have to go and teach them everything. You want to teach them history, go read a book, and then you check to make sure they read the book. So, part of it is how do you deal with those kind of things?
And you answered part of that just there, but this question just came through. If you have anything specific, how would you recommend handling homeschooling while also working from home?
Well, my first suggestion is expect your day to be longer, your work day. Because what you will have to do is you will have to take occasional breaks where you go and tell your child, go do this. But what you have to do is have them disciplined enough so that you can send them to do a task and have them do that task. Homeschooling does not require you to teach them everything. And we have to understand just how odd our school system is, right? Because even my father went to a one-room schoolhouse in the early 20th century. And in that one-room schoolhouse, there was all ages. And it wasn't like the teacher's teaching 12 grades at once. This was normal. This is really only since, this isn't widespread since the beginning of the 20th century, where you have a class that's just filled of the same age. And so with that, the idea has to be the child learns his own lessons, and you're just there to aid rather than you teaching everything. Because teaching everything is pretty abnormal in the history of the world.
And part of it is back to trying to raise independent learners. Like when the boys started going to work with Dan when they were 10, they would take their schoolwork with them. And when they got stuck on a problem with programming, they had schoolwork to do. They had books to read that they were writing essays from. So it's not, and I would, when my dad was in the hospital, I would take one of the kids with me when I would sit with him in the hospital, and they brought their schoolwork with them. So part of it is just teaching them to be disciplined, to be able to do things on their own, to be self-directed in the work that they're doing. A lot of it just goes back to character.
And it really is changing the mindset from you're supposed to be sitting in a chair while somebody else writes everything out on the blackboard that you're supposed to know. It's really, you're supposed to go find out what you know. And the purpose of education is to say, and the purpose of the school is to say, have you learned the things you need to learn?
And part of it's, for some people, it's got to just come down to priorities. If there's two parents and, maybe, I think it's probably fair to say the vast majority of homeschoolers is, a stay-at-home mom. which is good and not 100%, but it's going to be a lot easier. And so you might just have to decide, what's my priority? Am I going to be able to have less income and give my children a better homeschool education? And is that the decision I'm going to make?